Hello everybody and welcome to Uproot Reddit. You know, fences are meant to keep a home safe, but if a family had to resort to an electric fence, that's serious. Unfortunately, Entitled Karen and her family wasn't having it. According to Reddit user Sumo Ninja 17, they recount their experience with their entitled neighbor in today's Reddit post. Entitled parents complain about our electric fence. They wind up admitting their kids are the neighborhood thieves. Wait, what? Okay, now this story ought to be very interesting. Another poster reminded me about the neighborhood outcry over our electric fence. We had a couple hundred cars and other motor vehicles stored at any given time. The neighborhood kids, older teens, some were actually adults, liked to break in and steal personal items left in the cars, such as wallets, radios, a GPS unit, etc. If they stole the radio out of the dash, they'd rip the dash apart so we'd have to replace the radio and repair the dash. It would be a very expensive repair. We had a 6+ foot high fence topped with razor wire and an alarm. They'd find ways over it. Usually they'd throw a mattress on the razor wire and hop over using a car. Desperate much? To protect ourselves, we put up an electric fence inside our security fence, the one topped with razor wire. The electric fence was 6 feet inside the outer fence. Now if that's not top-notch security, I don't know what is. Neighborhood parents decided they were up in arms about our complete disregard for their little trophies. And I bet you one of those neighborhood parents is Entitled Karen. You know what, Entitled Karen? Your kids are not all picture-perfect angels. And that's a reality check. Anyways, we continue. The local councilman and police lieutenant came to me asking what we could do to calm the neighbors. Mind you, the electric fence was installed with the blessing of the local government, fully permitted and licensed. I told the politician, he was the real mouthpiece, that we would not be disarming or removing the fence. He told me that neighbors were very concerned for their children. Well, if the neighbors are concerned for their children, maybe the neighbors need to have a better watch of their children and tell them about the electric fence. I asked him which neighbors were most vocal. He told me. I looked at the lieutenant and told him that those were the kids to look into when there were burglaries and thefts in the area. The politician asked why. I told him the parents most worried about their kids were the ones that had kids they knew were climbing the other fence and stealing and vandalizing cars. Then I took them to show the fence. Now, you would seriously think the councilman would have taken a closer look at the setup, but he only looked at the big yellow high voltage warning signs. When we got the storage facility, the lieutenant laughed. The councilman looked like he walked in on wife in bed with his best friend. He was mad and surprised at the same time. They looked at the setup. The electric fence was 2 full steps inside the property. There was no way to accidentally contact it from the sidewalk. Yeah, unless you were a ghost. But I digress. The only way to get to it would be to climb the outer security fence. The kids weren't allowed in there ever, under any circumstances. It didn't take long for the councilman to learn he had been played by the neighbors. The lieutenant was fairly entertained. He actually laughed. Then, the councilman said something politically correct and left. I looked at the lieutenant and we talked about the families that were really upset about the fence. They outed themselves as the suspects in a number of crimes. Busted! One of the older kids would shoot someone about 2 years later. He would actually get caught on a stolen ATV from our other location. The lieutenant chuckled and said, "Now I have to figure out what to say to the parents of these crooks." I said, tell them I want to know if they prefer their delinquents regular or extra crispy. Yeah, when it comes to an electric fence, it's no joke. You touch it, you basically get fried to a crisp. So, if I had to guess, extra crispy's the way to go. But in all seriousness, stay away from electric fences, especially if that person doesn't want you in. And Sumo Ninja 17, I'm glad that justice was served and was on your side. You know, can you imagine with me for just one moment? The most perfect wedding. You have the bride, the groom, the guests, and entitled mom taking your wedding cake and giving it to her 6 kids. Wait, that last one sounded a bit off. Entitled mom did what now? In fact, Reddit user Mountain Rosebud shares her less than perfect cake cutting experience in today's Entitled Parents post. Entitled mom gave my entire wedding cake to her kids. Whose wedding was it anyway? Let's check it out. Thank you everyone for all the love. And my first silver? Y'all are amazing. Gold? You're gonna make me cry. I mean, Mountain Rosebud, your story is compelling. In fact, let's dive into that story right now. First time posting. On mobile, TL/DR at the bottom. So there was an original title that was a little bit longer that gave context to the situation. We'll look at that later. But for right now, let's reveal the cast of characters in today's story. We have entitled mom, who is entitled sister-in-law with her kids ages 6 to 14, me, insert clever line here, and NH stands for new hubby. For clarity, at my wedding we had 2 cakes, the pretty little wedding cake and then sheet cake for everyone else to eat. Yep, the most beautiful wedding cake is reserved for the couple, and then the sheet cake, which I absolutely love, is reserved for our guests. I mean, everybody knows this. Everyone except entitled Karen. This is from a couple years back, but will always stick with me. It was our wedding day, nothing fancy, which was perfect, and everything was going smoothly. I looked gorgeous in my dress. New hubby looked amazing. Perfect weather, etc. We had an outdoor wedding in the afternoon, and after the ceremony, we did the cut the cake bit. Everyone cheered, and we invited people to go get started in the food line. Then, our photographer pulled us away to get some last pics before the sun started going down. We were gone for maybe 10 minutes, then came back over for the cake. My best friend, who works as a head pastry chef at a nice restaurant, made it for us. A 1-tier red velvet and buttercream dream. We get back, and the entire cake is gone. I can't believe it. I look around and see entitled mom sitting at a table with her 6 kids, each with giant pieces of cake. Wonderful job, entitled mom, teaching your 6 kids the way of the diabetes. And I mean giant. The entire cake split into 7 pieces for her and the kids, and they're all wolfing through it fast. And another great way to teach your kids all about greed and selfishness. If you're going to be wolfing through cake, do so in a dignified manner. Matter of fact, why don't you just do it not at a person's wedding? This is a low blow even for entitled mom. Mountain Rosebud continues with a dialogue that we'll see here. Quote, "Hey, did you take all the cake? My new husband and I haven't even had any yet." "Yes, you did. I saw you cut the cake earlier." "Well, yes, we cut it. But didn't you notice none was missing? We had to go take a couple more photos before the sun went down, and we didn't even get to try it yet." "Yeah, they were gone for like 10 minutes. Look, my kids were hungry, and they're not eating whatever that is." Gestures to the catered food and the sheet cake the restaurant I work for donated as a wedding present that's on a table on the other side of everyone. Trying to be patient and not cause a scene at my own wedding. Look, I get that. But you probably should have brought them snacks if you didn't want them eating the food here. Now I don't get to have that memory with my new husband. Didn't it occur to you to ask when everyone else was getting food from over there? Whatever, that's really not what this day is all about. And honestly, you should be grateful that we came at all. Do you know how hard it is to get 6 kids out the door for meaningless little things like this? Okay, now that comment was lower than low. Full on disrespect. At this point, new husband has overheard what's happening and comes over to jump in. But not only has he heard, so did my family and best friend. If there are 2 people in the world you don't mess with, it's my sister and my best friend. Imagine 2 minuscule, neither is over 5'1", balls of fury that are now flying over. Entitled mom is now looking horrified as all of them are in her face yelling. Yeah, entitled mom, never mess with short people. She turns absolutely beet red before huffling, "See if I ever come to one of you people's weddings again." Entitled Mom tries to simultaneously grab all 6 kids at the same time to get them to her car fast. Now here's where it gets really intense. Quote, "My sister grabbed a slice of the sheet cake and threw it at Entitled Mom, hitting her in the back of the head with it as Entitled Mom stomped away. Bullseye." Is it bad that I still kinda giggle thinking of Entitled Mom awkwardly leaning as far forward as she could on the drive home, trying not to let frosting drip down the back of her neck? The answer to that? No. Anyway, we haven't heard from her again. Although I did get a text about a week later from her oldest kid apologizing for her mom's behavior and for eating all my wedding cake. When Entitled Mom's kid is much more mature than Entitled Mom, that says a lot. The rest of the wedding was lovely, and here's the edit she was talking about earlier. Entitled Mom gave my entire wedding cake to her 6 kids, blamed us, and got ripped apart by my family. Dear future wedding guests, please use common sense and don't be an entitled Karen. Hogging the newlywed couple's wedding cake is the most disrespectful and low-down thing you could ever do. If you wanted wedding cake, consider buying it yourself. Jeez. Anyways, well, that's all for today. We'll be back for more greedy Entitled Mom stories right here on Uproot Reddit. Oh, and before I forget, the cake isn't a lie.